Part 123. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1221. Chapter 1221. I've been looking for someone's shadow. Hanzija has a black question mark face. I have to say that Shang Guanqinyi's delusional disorder is getting worse. Now that science and technology are so advanced, why should a young man give up on therapy? Hanzija took a long breath, calmed down, and answered Shang Guanqinyi's questions word by word. There are no hard feelings. She is the only person in my life who I want to spend the rest of my life with. It is also because of her that I just learned to get better slowly. Hanzija's sudden affectionate tone made Shang Guanqinyi's eyes widen in surprise. Scumbag is affectionate? She doesn't believe it. Shang Guanqinyi snorted disdainfully. Who are you kidding? Mu Niankai is just a little girl. How many people in the school have been bullied by her in the past? She shows off her power in all kinds of ways because the principal is her father. Other classmates engage in school violence. And doesn't she like Jun Chenai so much that she is with you? I don't believe it. She is not the kind of person you like. Hanzija raised his eyes and looked at her. Then tell me, what kind of person do I like? It's really interesting. When will he have a set standard for finding a girlfriend? If it's not within this standard, is he lying? Shang Guanqinyi's logic is as fragile as ever. None of your girlfriends are gentle and kind. Mu Niankai is simply an alien. How can someone like her deserve to be with you? Shang Guanqinyi said angrily. Hearing this, Hanzija's eyes suddenly dimmed. Shang Guanqinyi was right. His previous girlfriends were indeed gentle and virtuous. Of course, he was also deceived by Shang Guanqinyi's appearance and disguise at first. Only when he caught up with her did he realize that it was not the case and that she was still such a difficult person to control. To say that he had such a set of criteria for finding a girlfriend, it would be better to say that it was because he had been looking for someone at that time. That person is the dead Xiaoran and Xiamenjian. Xiamenjian is the first girl Hanzija has liked since childhood. The relationship between childhood sweethearts is the most indestructible. At that time, she was not the illegitimate daughter of the Xia family. At that time, she was just a poor girl who was often beaten and scolded by her mother. At that time, Hanzija lived with his grandparents, and they lived close to her family in the same community. Over time, the two people became familiar with each other. At that time, Xiamenjian was gentle, innocent, and kind, and her eyes were always clear and full of hope. Even though there were scars all over her body, even if Hanzija took her arm and said he was taking her to call the police, she still smiled softly and said, "It's useless, she is my mother, my only relative." Because he is the only relative, the only support in the world, so even if she doesn't love her or care for her, she still has to protect her. She was so young at that time and still had to study and live. Without Xiao Yanhong, she would lose everything. Later, Hanzija returned to his parents, left the city, and never saw her again. Hanzija thought that she would be happy with her parents, but found that she could not see her parents all year round, and was all alone, without feeling the warmth of home. He began to miss his grandmother and the girl whose eyes were as bright as stars. After entering the rebellious stage, Hanzija became a different person. The only thing that didn't change was his longing for that little girl, so he began to look for the shadow of his childhood in others. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1222. Chapter 1222. She is the only one who can do it. Later, the girl in the memory finally appeared again. He vowed to protect her, and he stood firm in everything she said. Because I have seen her suffering in the past, I especially love and pity her. So for what she said, Xia Ying has been bullying her, and the Xia family has been treating her badly, and she needs his help and so on. Hanzija agreed without hesitation, and even gradually, he didn't like Xia Ying at all, but was completely disgusted with Xia Ying, who was gentle on the surface but actually bullied Xia Menjian. Although Hanzija gradually felt that Xia Menjian had changed and was no longer the same person as before, he still chose to believe and stand on her side. It's just that he never thought that Xia Menjian had not only changed, but also a different person, which made him feel strange. The Xia Menjian in the past would never scheme or frame others. She is no longer the person he remembers. After learning the truth, Hanzija didn't sleep a wink the whole night. Some time ago, the news that Xia Ran committed suicide by jumping off a building made a lot of noise, and Hanzija felt a little sad. He witnessed the girl's fall from an angel to a devil with his own eyes. Although he couldn't bear it and didn't want to believe it, it was a fact. When she reappeared as Xia Ran, Hanzija still held on to a glimmer of hope that she would repent, but he didn't expect that she was already bad to the core. If she hadn't died, she would have done more bad things in the future. Hanzija lowered his head and thought for a long time, his thoughts drifting further and further away. Shang Guanqinyi waved her hand in front of Hanzija and called him, which brought Hanzija back to his senses. Hanzija, what are you thinking about? Shang Guanqinyi stared at him suspiciously and looked at him. Hanzija calmed down his emotions and continued to look at Shang Guanqinyi with a serious expression. It's nothing. I asked you, was it because I guessed that you were so obsessed just now that you were forced to be with Mu Niankai? No matter how affectionate Hanzija was when he confessed to Mu Niankai just now, Shang Guanqinyi just didn't want to admit that the relationship between them was real. She would not believe that Hanzija truly loved Mu Niankai even if she beat her to death. The Han family's parents are relatively old-fashioned, and she still knows the idea of putting interests first. She still believes that this is a complete marriage of interests. Hanzija was furious. What happened to this man? Even a piece of wood should have understood what he said. She seemed to be living in her own world. Yes, my previous girlfriends were all found in the same pattern. But unfortunately, Mu Niankai is the one who broke this pattern. When you meet true love, there are no standards, no conditions, only her. Hanzija said sternly. Shang Guanqinyi felt harsh when she heard these words. Shang Guanqinyi stood up suddenly and poured a glass of water on Hanzija. Hanzija jumped up and looked at Shang Guanqinyi's eyes, which were red with anger. Hanzija, let me tell you, if you provoke me, you will be responsible for me. I don't care if you really like that woman, I will not let you be together. Shang Guanqinyi raised her voice loudly, then turned around and left angrily. Hanzija froze on the spot, using a tissue to wipe the water. What kind of person did he provoke? He suddenly wanted to beat up the person he had bet with before. Why did he choose such an unreasonable woman to place the bet? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1223. Chapter 1223. What is the probability of getting back together with your ex-boyfriend? At night, Mu Niankai was lying on the bed and scrolling through Weibo out of boredom. I found that I had gained more than a dozen fans, so I clicked in to look at Xia, and then I found an eye-catching ID. Miss Shang Guanqinyi. With more than 30,000 fans, the number of fans is quite large. Mu Niankai clicked in with a tentative attitude, and then discovered that Miss Shang Guanqinyi was the legendary Shang Guanqinyi. And her latest Weibo. What is the probability of getting back together with your ex-boyfriend? The accompanying picture is a selfie of myself in front of a coffee shop, a side view of a boy from a distance that was secretly taken. Mu Niankai's eyelids twitched and she clicked on the boy's picture to enlarge it. Damn it! Isn't this Hanzija? He actually secretly met Shang Guanqinyi behind her back. The comments on Weibo also made Mu Niankai furious. Young lady is so pretty, Who would break up with you? Shang Guanqinyi replied, it's not a breakup, it's just a temporary separation. Look at this, Qinyi, are you going to get back together with your ex-boyfriend? The boy seems quite handsome. Shang Guanqinyi replied, we are trying to get back together, he is very handsome / cute / If your ex-boyfriend is single, the chances are higher. If you have a girlfriend, there is basically no hope. Shang Guanqinyi replied, that was someone else, not me. A netizen responded excitedly, ah, the goddess replied to me, of course, you must be different, I wish you success. Muni Ankai frowned in anger, with a dark face, clenched her teeth, and made a rattling sound. Then she commented below, if you don't learn to be an excavator, don't learn to poach others. After Muni Ankai finished her comment, she breathed a sigh of relief and sent Hanzija another WeChat message. Hanzija, what did you do just now? Hanzija replied instantly, I'm playing games, what's wrong? Muni Ankai's temples were beating with anger. This Hanzija's wings are stiff? How dare you lie to her? Do you really plan to get back together with that woman? Muni Ankai was just about to share Shang Guanqinyi's Weibo post with Hanzija when Weibo prompted Miss Shang Guanqinyi to reply to her. That is also my corner. I have left it there for a while and it was just taken over by others. Now it is just time for me to take it back. Muni Ankai twitched the corner of her mouth, hers. Take back. What a loud tone. Muni Ankai replied to her again, let's see if you have this ability. The other end quickly replied, thank you for your concern, I will definitely do it. The two people were going back and forth and actually got into a fight in the comment area. The melon eaters were stunned for a moment. Isn't this young lady the real owner? Someone asked Muni Ankai. Muni Ankai didn't reply, but other netizens responded, isn't this obvious? Why? Isn't this my Muni Ankai? Why do you see it here? Because of Muni Ankai's appearance, netizens gradually noticed something, and slowly, some bad comments started to follow. So, the blogger is Hanzija's ex-girlfriend? Bloggers want to show some face? Hanzija and Muni Ankai are about to get engaged, why are you here to rob them? Thank you for speaking out. Are you so confident in stealing someone's boyfriend these days? Hee. Ife, come out and get beaten. He's about to get engaged, but he still has a secret meeting with his ex-girlfriend. Iasi, you have to resolve your romantic debts yourself. Please protect us, Miss Niankai. // End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1224. Chapter 1224 Ex-girlfriend vs current girlfriend. When Hanzija saw the message reminder, he was stunned and couldn't believe what he saw in front of him. Shang Guanqinyi and Muni Ankai actually started to quarrel on Weibo, and looking at the situation, they became more and more at odds. Hanzija held his forehead helplessly, and suddenly remembered what Muni Ankai had just asked him what he was doing. It turned out that she had discovered Shang Guanqinyi's Weibo. After seeing what happened between him and her, he had just lied to her, and now that Muni Ankai had discovered the truth, Hanzija had already foreseen how miserable his death would be in the future. Hanzija quickly contacted Muni Ankai by phone, but found that the other party did not respond. Muni Ankai refused to answer his call. The matter had become serious. Hanzija sighed and tried to contact Shang Guanqinyi to stop this farce. Who knows, Shang Guanqinyi stopped answering the phone. So, what happened? At this time, Shang Guanqinyi and Muni Ankai didn't have enough of a war of words on the internet, so they directly arranged to meet in private. When Hanzija called them, they had just sat in the coffee shop. Facing Muni Ankai's invitation, Shang Guanqinyi was not timid at all, and even acted like an upright person. He drank coffee slowly and leisurely, unaffected by Muniankai's stern eyes. Muniankai's cell phone rang, and when she found out it was Hansaja, she who was already angry became extremely angry. She gets angry whenever she sees Hansaja now, and becomes even more angry when she sees his name. If he hadn't had too many romantic histories, how could she be scolding this woman on the internet today without even caring about her image? It really made her feel sick. This woman is also disgusting. After all, she is an ex-girlfriend. She has no self-consciousness about being an ex-girlfriend. She also kept stalking other people's fiancés, and even took it for granted, which simply refreshed Muniankai's outlook on life. Shang Guanqinyi probably guessed that Hansaja called Muniankai. She called Muniankai several times but didn't answer. She also looked like she was about to eat someone. At the moment, there was no one else but Hansaja. After Shang Guanqinyi's cell phone rang, she just glanced at it lightly and didn't answer it. Instead, she deliberately said slowly to Muniankai, "Oh, Hansaja called me again." Looking at her face, Muniankai almost couldn't help but throw the steaming coffee in front of her on her face. What's going on with Hansaja? He's still contacting this woman. Besides, haven't they broken up a long time ago? Why do you still have the other party's mobile phone number? Muniankai became angrier and angrier as she thought about it, and she made a stinky face as soon as she spoke. "I won't beat around the bush with you anymore. Hansaja will be engaged to me soon. If you have any sense of shame, it's troublesome, leave him as far away as possible, otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." Muniankai's words are all thorny. Unfortunately, Shang Guanqinyi is a person who is not afraid of anything. In fact, the tougher the enemy is, the less afraid she is. Therefore, Muniankai's threats had no effect on her. Shang Guanqinyi's lips raised slightly. "Hansaja invited me to return to China, why should I just leave when you ask me to?" Muniankai frowned. "What nonsense are you talking about? What did Hansaja invite you to come back to China?" End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 1225. Chapter 1225 Ex-girlfriend vs current girlfriend. Shang Guanqinyi did not answer in a hurry, but took a sip of coffee slowly. She looked very proud of Muniankai's confused performance, as if she had already won. Her silence made Muniankai start to think wildly. Didn't Hansaja not allow himself to invite this woman? Why did this woman say that Hansaja invited her back to China? Isn't this inconsistent? Or is it that Hansaja, a scumbag, keeps in touch with her behind her back, so she has never been willing to delete her phone number? When Muniankai thought of this, she only had one thought at the moment, which was to blow Hansaja's head off. "He sent me an invitation letter when you got engaged," Shang Guanqinyi continued. "Isn't it a hint that it's time for me to come back? And remember, Hansaja and I didn't break up, it was just temporary. It's just a separation, so at this time, I will naturally come back. If you want to take away my Shang Guanqinyi's man, there is no way." After Muniankai understood this, she rolled her eyes and asked, "Does this woman have a hallucination? Is it the invitation letter sent to her by Hansaja, or some hint, etc.? Mary Sue, a rich and person, didn't miss it, right? His imagination is really comparable to that of Yeziaksuan. Please, can you stop being so sentimental? I sent the invitation. I asked my men to investigate all of Hansaja's ex-girlfriends and send out invitations. Hansaja only knew about all this. And the first thing after knowing it, Hansaja came to me and told me that he must not let you participate. Do you know why? Because he hates you and it took a lot of effort to get rid of you." When Shang Guanqinyi heard what Muniankai said, the expression on her face suddenly turned gloomy. She looked smug just now, but now she seemed to be evasive. "What nonsense are you talking about? Even if it was an invitation letter from you, How could he hate me? I left him because he had a mental illness, and I left him in order to let him have peace of mind for treatment. Shang Guanqinyi said it righteously, but she immediately made Mu Niankai laugh. What did you say? Hanzija has a mental illness? Are you telling a joke? How could someone like him have a mental illness? Illness? Can't you tell that he is just trying to drive you away? Shang Guanqinyi panicked, her heartbeat began to become erratic. She pointed at Mu Niankai and said angrily, You are talking nonsense, you are talking nonsense. I clearly saw his medical certificate, he is sick. Mu Niankai then rolled her eyes and said angrily, You are the one who is sick. Shang Guanqinyi directly poured the coffee in front of her onto Mu Niankai's hand. Mu Niankai stood up and stared at her with wide eyes. You must be sick. You crazy woman. Just at this time, Hanzija arrived and saw this scene. He quickly picked up a napkin and helped Mu Niankai wipe the coffee stains on her body. When Shang Guanqinyi saw Hanzija coming, her eyes lit up and she followed Hanzija around. Mu Niankai knocked off Hanzija's hand that he was wiping for her, glared at him, and said angrily, Stay away from me. I hate you. This is all your fault. Mu Niankai angrily said many unpleasant and harsh words to Hanzija, but Hanzija kept speaking nicely and still held a tissue and wiped Mu Niankai carefully. With such doting eyes and such gentle movements, Shang Guanqinyi on the side was already stunned. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1226. Chapter 1226 Ex-girlfriend vs current girlfriend. In Shang Guanqinyi's memory, Hanzija has always been an arrogant man, and there has never been any reason for him to obey others. He had had so many girlfriends, and every one of them spoke softly in front of him and tried his best to please them. However, he was perfunctory at most, very aloof, and unwilling to show any unnecessary expressions. But the arrogant and domineering Mu Niankai in front of her not only treated Hanzija so badly, but Hanzija actually obeyed her, compromised with her, and relied on her in everything without saying a word. The scene with Mu Niankai was like the silently giving night in a fairy tale. At this moment, Shang Guanqinyi suddenly felt a tight pain in her heart. In the past, when she was with Hanzija, she would always try her best to make him happy, look at her more, and try her best to stay by his side for a while. She knew his nickname when she was with him. There were so many outstanding girls who couldn't keep him, but she still held on to a glimmer of hope, hoping that she would be the girl who would accompany Hanzija to the end. Just a minute ago, she felt that she still had hope. She felt that Hanzija didn't like Mu Niankai at all, and that what he said to her before was all for the benefit of the family, because he must be engaged to Mu Niankai. But at this second, she suddenly felt more and more unsure. She has made so many efforts, and she has always thought that no matter what method she uses, she must keep Hanzija by her side, but because of the look in Hanzija's eyes at Mu Niankai, she was completely defeated. Even her vague hope has gradually been extinguished. Shang Guanqinyi sniffed. Hanzija had been here for so long, but his eyes were only on Mu Niankai without looking at her. After sorting out the stains on Mu Niankai's body, Hanzija finally raised his head to look up at her, but it was such an expression of disgust and disgust. Shang Guanqinyi lowered her eyes and watched Hanzija holding Mu Niankai's hand tightly. He was giving Mu Niankai a sense of security, as well as responsibility and commitment. This one action, one look, completely separated her from the two of them, and created a boundary. She was just an unreasonable stranger, and the person across from him was the real person in his heart. Shang Guanqinyi took a deep breath, trying to control her emotions and maintain her basic qualities, so as not to pounce on and bite the couple like wild beasts. Shang Guanqinyi, are you finished? I have made it clear to you that Mu Niankai is the one I like. There is no other reason why I am engaged to her, just because I love her. As for you, I have never liked you, so please respect yourself and stop pestering us. If I find you causing trouble for Mu Niankai next time, you know I have 1,000 ways to punish you. Mu Niankai was stunned for a moment and looked up at Hanzija, who had a serious and solemn face. On her wrist, Hanzija's strength reminded her clearly and profoundly that this time, he was really angry. When he saw Shang Guanqinyi pouring her coffee, he must have felt that she was being bullied, so he said such words. Shang Guanqinyi sneered twice, her eyes turning red uncontrollably. You've never liked me? Hanzija, when you said this, did you consider my feelings? Hanzija's tone was slightly gentler. I know I'm sorry for you, so I've been patient with you, but patience doesn't mean you can bully my woman. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 1227. Chapter 1227 Ex-girlfriend vs current girlfriend. Patience, oh, do you think I'm being unreasonable? Isn't it? I have told you more than once that I don't like you. The person I like is Mu Niankai, but you keep making trouble for us again and again. Do you think it's interesting? Is it fun? Hanzija. Shang Guanqinyi drank Hanzija, tears welled up in her eyes, and she stared at him. Since you have never liked me, why did you come to provoke me in the first place? You know how much I like you. I have always foolishly thought that you were really sick, so I have been waiting for you to contact me. I thought you would be with me one day, but what happened to me? Want to get engaged to another woman? What happened was my fault. I have done many wrong things in the past. You can deal with me in any way you want. I accept it, but Mu Niankai, you can't touch even a hair on your head. When Hanzija said this, his eyes darkened. Shang Guanqinyi felt his obvious intimidation. Shang Guanqinyi smiled bitterly. Dispose of you? It's easy for you to say. How can you compensate me for all my years of youth? What I want from beginning to end is nothing more than you. Seeing that the atmosphere was getting more and more bloody, Mu Niankai came out and said, you don't need to be so sad. Who didn't meet a few scumbags when they were young and didn't hurt them? I am as stupid as you, liking someone who can never like you. No, I am more stupid than you. I have liked that person for many years, and I have done a lot for him that I feel stupid and regretful when I think about it now. Wrong thing. But people always grow through setbacks. If it weren't for letting go in time, I wouldn't have met Hanzija. The same goes for you. Maybe you will meet your true love at the next corner? Mu Niankai finished the sentence very smoothly, and she felt a lot more relaxed after finishing it. She is a person who is very bad at making chicken soup and does not like to drink chicken soup. She is saying these chicken soup sentences from the bottom of her heart at this moment. Not only does she not feel disgusted, but she feels that it is indeed reasonable. She also hopes that Shang Guanqinyi can really listen. Hanzija suddenly approached Shang Guanqinyi, opened WeChat on his mobile phone, and showed Shang Guanqinyi a business card. And shared it with Shang Guanqinyi. Shang Guanqinyi looked at Hanzija confused. What are you doing? Who is this person? I just want to tell you that there is such a fool in this world who has liked you for 6 years but never had the courage to tell you. Shang Guanqinyi frowned, and suddenly felt that the WeChat profile picture looked familiar, so she clicked on it. This person is not from your football team. Shang Guanqinyi thought for a while before remembering the name, Hao Jian. He would be so happy to know that you still remember his name. Hanzija smiled faintly. Shang Guanqinyi's face was full of doubts. How could he like me? Shang Guanqinyi vaguely remembered that when this boy was on the football team, he didn't dare to look at her, and he rarely talked to him. If it wasn't because Shang Guanqianyi thought he was fair and good-looking, so she had such an impression, otherwise, he had the kind of personality that could instantly drown him in a crowd. By the way, every time she went to the football team to watch Hanzija play football, this boy brought her water. But at that time, she only had Hanzija in her eyes, so she naturally ignored him. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1228. Chapter 1228, Say Some Belated Love. Shang Guanqianyi clicked on the business card and added him as a friend. Almost at the same time, the other party agreed. Shang Guanqianyi started to check Hao Jian's circle of friends with a confused face. In addition to posting some books she had read, they were about the daily training of the football team, as well as some inner insights related to her. The first day I fell in love with her, I met this young lady several times in the library. The smile is really beautiful. I never believed in love at first sight, and I guess it would be hard for me to guess that one day I would try it myself, because this young lady decided to go to the library to read more often in the future. On the 10th day I liked her. I finally spoke to her, even though it was just a gentle thank you when I helped her pick up a pen. Her voice is really nice. The first month I fell in love with her, I learned her name, and she was indeed as beautiful as her person. In the third month of falling in love with her, she was with my brother. That day she drank a lot and ran to her brother to ask him to treat her well. But he just said it for fun, don't take it too seriously. For the first time, I really had the urge to punch him. They broke up after the 6th month of liking her. He never liked her. If she knew that the person she liked so much was actually only with her because of a game, there is no real feelings at all, she will collapse. The 8th month after I liked her, she left, they broke up, and I could never see her again. I can no longer hand her water, I can no longer hear her thank you, and I can no longer see her smiling face. The first year I liked her, I missed her. The third year after I fell in love with her, I went to college, but there was still no news from her. The 5th year I fell in love with her, I wanted to go find her, but I didn't dare. In the 6th year of falling in love with her, I heard that she is back, and I really want to express my belated love for her. Shang Guanqianyi looked at it with red circles in her eyes. She had never thought that a plot like this in a novel would happen to her, nor had she thought that when she fell in love with one person, another person would also fall in love with her. Now that she thought about Hao Jian, she couldn't even remember his face clearly. It's just a vague impression. Shang Guanqianyi returned to the dialogue box and saw the message opened by Hao Jian. Is it senior sister Shang Guan? How did you add me to WeChat? Hao Jian is 1 grade below her and is her junior. Shang Guanqianyi typed and replied to him, Hanzija gave it to me. Hanzija watched Shang Guanqianyi's movements and thought about how ecstatic Hao Jian would be on the other end of the phone at this moment. Having liked someone for so many years, this seems to be the closest they have ever gotten. Hanzija said in a calm voice, I used to be a complete scumbag. I know that nothing I can say can make it up to you, but I still hope you can let go of me. You are very good, but I am not worth what you do for me. I have no intention of bringing you and Hao Jian together, I just hope you give him a chance, the choice is still in your hands. Shang Guanqianyi raised her eyes and still stared at Hanzija, gritted her teeth and said, I will never forgive you in this life. Hanzija nodded calmly, yes, I believe it. Shang Guanqianyi took the handbag she put on her seat and left angrily. Hanzija finally breathed a sigh of relief. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1229. Chapter 1229 I will make it impossible for you to get out of bed. Hansaja put on a bright smile and turned to look at Muniankai. After meeting Muniankai's questioning and gloomy eyes, the expression on Hansaja's face immediately became timid. As if to please, he walked towards Muniankai. Muniankai gave him a black face and turned her head away, not wanting to look at him. Hansaja had long expected that something like this would happen, so he was not surprised. Okay, it's all settled. Hansaja reached out and touched Muniankai's head. Muniankai knocked his hand away, rolled her eyes at him, and said angrily, "You did the good deeds yourself. If I were Shang Guanqinyi, I would have to steal you. The skin is not good." Hansaja shrugged helplessly. If it weren't for the Hao Jian incident that diverted her attention, I would have lost all my skin by now. You deserve it? Hansaja nodded obediently, looked at Muniankai's angry face with squinted eyes and smiled, and couldn't help but stretched out his hand to grab it. Can you please don't be angry? Huh, because of you, all the clothes I bought were ruined by Shang Guanqinyi. Muniankai looked at the large coffee stains on her body with distress. Can I buy you a new one? It is necessary. Muniankai showed no mercy and acted confidently. Hansaja nodded. Well, what else do we, Miss Mu, need to buy? Put aside what you bought, I have more important things to do. As Muniankai said this, she already took out her mobile phone and made a call. Hansaja was puzzled. What's going on? Until Hansaja heard Muniankai telling the person on the other end of the phone that no matter what method he used, he must not let those ex-girlfriends come over and take back all their invitations. Everyone who received the order was already in a daze. What? I've already given it away, can I get it back? And you have to ensure that no one is allowed to pass? Then why did you send it to them in the first place? Of course this is also his psychological activity. Faced with Muniankai's order, as servants, they can only obey and have no option to question. After Muniankai hung up the phone, Hansaja kept suppressing his laughter. Muniankai patted him. Why are you laughing? Didn't you say you wanted to cut them off? Why did you suddenly stop adopting this great plan? Hansaja's ridicule made Muniankai feel very uncomfortable. Muniankai pinched Hansaja and said, you still have the nerve to say that, thanks to you. Your ex-girlfriend is so awesome, a Shang Guanqinyi. I have suffered enough, I don't want another Duan Muqinyi and Murongqinyi. She was really afraid and tired, so it would be better to simply get engaged. Hansaja smiled, yes, madam is wise. Muniankai snorted, don't take advantage of me, you haven't even written a word about it. Hansaja seemed to be smiling but not smiling, with a hidden light in his eyes. If you are willing, you can do it very quickly. Muniankai knew what Hansaja was implying. They had been together for so long, but they still had not broken through the last line of defense. Hansaja is a full-blooded and normal man, and it is normal to have needs. But Muniankai just refused to give it to him. Sometimes when it was the last step, Muniankai would shout stop, and then rush Hansaja to the toilet to solve the problem on his own. Hansaja said to Muniankai, do you know the consequences of doing this? Muniankai, what? Believe it or not, I will make you unable to get out of bed on your wedding day. Muniankai. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 1230. Chapter 1230 Engagement Ceremony. The engagement ceremony of Hansaja and Muniankai went smoothly without any commotion. Naturally, none of Hansaja's ex-girlfriends came. Hansaja is naturally very satisfied with this situation, but Muniankai is a little more wary of him and his ex-girlfriends because of Shang Guanqinyi's incident. Hansaja and Muniankai's wedding was held in a high-profile manner, and almost all the famous and upper-class people were invited. Jun Chennai, who was originally said to be unable to come on a business trip abroad, also arrived late in the end. Yu Lingfeng doesn't like crowds and doesn't like talking to others. The Xia family is a well-known family in the imperial capital, and Xia Ying herself is also a well-known person in China, so the two of them immediately became the focus when they appeared. After the last hot search incident, everyone knew that Xia Ying had a handsome boyfriend beside her, whose good looks scorned those of the most popular figures in the entertainment industry. And his temperament is outstanding, different from ordinary people. So, only a few people who wanted to make friends with the two appeared. Xia Ying knew Yu Lingfeng's characteristics, so she politely refused to those people. It's strange that the two most dazzling figures in the crowd have been standing in the most remote corner. After what happened last time, Yu Lingfeng also officially disclosed his identity and no longer had to wear a mask. Yu Lingfeng usually found it troublesome when wearing a mask, and he was stared at by others. Now that he was not wearing a mask, those people stared at him more openly. Then she whispered to the people around her, "Xia Ying's boyfriend is so handsome. He is simply a fairy on earth." What's more, he secretly picked up his cell phone to secretly take pictures of Yu Lingfeng and Xia Ying. Yu Lingfeng noticed it and looked at 11 Ju beside him calmly. "Oh, by the way, 11 Ju is here too." Zihu came over boldly because he learned that Jianyins went abroad to study music some time ago. Xia Ying said that half of the reason why Jianyins studied music was to calm his mind and slowly make him forget about 11 Ju. He hasn't recovered yet, and it always takes time to slowly accept it. Zihu understood Yu Lingfeng's look with a glance. He nodded and said, "Master, I know." He would not let those people keep Yu Lingfeng's photos on their mobile phones. When Hanzija and Mu Niankai came out, everyone's eyes were attracted to them. Since it was an engagement, Mu Niankai did not wear a floor-length wedding dress, but a short wedding dress that exposed her legs. Mu Niankai's legs were already long and straight, and the way she walked gracefully on a pair of crystal high heels made her look like a fairy in a fairy tale. Hanzija's eyes almost popped out of his head when he saw Mu Niankai. It is said that the happiest moment in a man's life is when he sees his beloved woman put on a wedding dress for him. Hanzija was in such a mood at the moment. The wedding dress was really a sacred thing. Hanzija felt that Mu Niankai seemed to be a different person when she put on the wedding dress. She was no longer the usual one who was angry at him. A savage girlfriend, but a quiet, sweet, and fairy-like girl. Ah, it would be great if Mu Niankai was really like this. It's a pity that this is just his illusion. Tanguo hugged Ye Xiaoxun's arm and exclaimed with starry eyes, "Well, Xiaoxun, what a beautiful scene." Ye Xiaoxun pursed her lips tightly, her heart beating fast, and she nodded, "Well, it's really beautiful." She has written about so many beautiful loves in books, but actually encountering them in real life is a different feeling. End of this chapter.